Welcome back to the next episode of the Doggone Truth About Rescue with Always and Furever. On this episode, we have a very young, exciting, enchanted group of ladies that I am so grateful to finally have the three of them together. We've had two of them previously, but one is a rookie. So I'd like to introduce a rookie to the podcast, not the shelter, because honestly, this whole episode is discussing with our OGs, people that have been with the shelter since the inception in 2018, and really looking at how far it's come to where it is now. And I'll introduce the crew. So Judy, Jane, and Connie, if you just want to go through and I'll say the month in the year that you started with the shelter, if you can remember, or just the year, or your first memory with it might help, and then what your current role is with Always and Furever.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Judy. I came in July or the end of June in 2018. I think it was the second volunteer orientation. Jane was already there. Connie was already there. So of the old girls, I'm the newest girl. And my role has evolved into coordinating the vet ride transportation.
Yeah, like Judy said, I started right off the bat, probably the second orientation, I guess, from the very beginning. I remember seeing it in the paper opening, and I couldn't wait to get out there and get started on the orientation so I can get started. My role, basically, I am just a volunteer, but I do all the mowing out at the Red Barn, all the trimming, kind of maintenance stuff. I also keep track of alumni follow-ups and post our alumni pups that have crossed, or animals of any type that have crossed the Rainbow Bridge, on the Rainbow Bridge page, where we send cards to those that have lost their furry friends.
I'm interrupting before Jane goes. No, you didn't screw up. You just used the word just. I'm just a volunteer. And I want to correct you that there is no just volunteering. Everything that you do is such an impact. It's not a just statement. You are a volunteer and you make a difference with all of the yard work and trimming, and especially the alumni page, because I know I follow that and I love seeing the alumni. So no more just in your statement. That's all. Jane?
I started in July 2018, and I started actually as a volunteer, then went to med coordinator, then vet driver, and ended up as treasurer.
So we covered quite the spectrum there between the three of you ladies. Before we get into the questions, I kind of enjoy asking this question now to the people who come in. How many group chats do you currently have in your messenger with Always and Furever?
I don't even know. Oh my gosh.
I think there's one every 30 seconds, so there's probably 18 of them.
I was going to say 20. Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
I'm only in the ones for the podcast now. I've set some boundaries. But anyways, all right, so let's dive into your stories and journey with Always and Furever, because it's how many years? 6 years, right? The anniversary party is coming up in May, which is crazy. So let's touch briefly on how it has evolved or changed since you first started volunteering in your eyes. Because Jen's going to see it in a different light. We see it in a different light. How has your time with Always and Furever really changed?
I'll go on this one. It was a very quiet, serene, and peaceful place, because when we came to volunteer, we never saw another human. Jen was working downtown then, and so she was away from the barn all day. And when you came in, it was you and however many dogs were in the barn. And there we were, just cleaning the yard, doing laundry, petting dogs, washing dishes, all on our own. And it was kind of scary sometimes, but it was also super peaceful. And that's why it became my favorite place in the world, just for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. When we first started, you'd show up and you could be the only one there, or we started meeting in evenings kind of as a social time. And back then, we would even sign up for feed times. Hey, it's time to feed the dogs. Who wants to sign up and come out? Much different than it is right now. So it was just walk in the barn and see who wants to come out and enjoy time with you. It was amazing, calm, and serene.
I actually used to bring my 90-year-old father out with me. So while I would pick up the yard or do laundry, he would sit in the middle of the comfy couch with the dog on each side. And it was just so pretty. Like, there's a beautiful view of the countryside, and it's bright and cheery inside. You know, it's bright colors and just big windows where the sun comes in. It was just a really peaceful atmosphere.
About how many dogs were at the shelter for that first year?
When I came in, there were 8, and I had to write their names on my arm because I knew I would never remember that many dogs. It was so confusing, and now we all talk about 3,000 dogs, 4,000 dogs, and we remember most of them, so it has evolved.
Yeah, definitely it's different. You walk in now and you look at the board and say, well, who's here, and go down the list of who's there. And back then we just knew them all and they just gathered around you.
Well, and also we didn't have a foster network to start with, so it was really just the dogs that were in the barn. And then once we, got fosters, I think that 2018 we ended up with, I think I looked up 103 dogs coming through in that year, just 100.
The whole year was only 100 dogs.
Yes.
That was going to be my next question as you guys were talking about that. When did the shift really happen from that first 8 to 100 within a year? Was it an event? What do they call them this day? A cannon event with the shelter?
So you know what? The intake really exploded in 2020. So I was looking up the numbers. So we went up in 2019 to, we had 492 dogs and 6 cats. So we just started doing cats the end of 2019. But then in 2020, it doubled, 889 dogs and 176 cats, so over 1,000 animals in 2020. So, that's when it just really shot up and doubled. And, thankfully, our donations kept pace, and doubled also.
Because obviously that was over COVID and everybody, because I remember the one post that the barn was actually emptied at one point, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Or there was a few left? So. Okay, maybe that was a holiday thing of everybody
Maybe
got.
It was a holiday where we tried to send every dog to a home for Christmas or something.
Okay.
But I don't think that we've ever had a time where it's actually empty.
Emptied. At what point did the fostering really start to pick up and become part of it? Because I know for a while, correct me if I'm wrong, that the dogs were in boarding at different facilities, and Always and Forever was covering the cost of boarding. To that switch of promoting fostering.
Well, I think we had fosters before that time. That was kind of just for the overflow, if we didn't have the space at the time, because we wanted to save them, and so we had to put them in boarding. But I think our fosters really developed in 2019, and then they've just expanded since then. I mean, I think we have an approved foster network of like 150 at least right now.
Yeah, the barn, they could only hold so many. And so, Jen, save as many as we can. So then boarding was used before we had the other location, a place to put them. And it's just like anything else. Once things get going, whether it's fosters and your volunteers, it just snowballs. And people keep watching, and it takes time for people to catch on and get, involved or just take a part in it and find their niche, and that's when things start growing.
So with the growing, let's talk about the evolution from Little Red Barn to then, I don't know the right order, of Little Gray Barn in Osawatomie, and then a touch of Wichita, of how we went from one location to, and if you know the timeline, explaining or going into detail on that. Really look back at the path of Always and Forever.
Jane will know the exact date of this. Go ahead, Jane. I know you knew the exact date.
We started leasing the space in Kansas City, Missouri, January of 2022. So that's when we expanded there with about 16 dogs. Yeah, because we did actually help out in another location where we helped out another rescue who had closed their doors. So we did actually have a facility down in Greeley for a while as well.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we had always been helping at Osawatomie since like 2019. We had been sending staff there, to care for the animals.
Pound was a really amazing experience, I think. We had only heard about the little shed in the golf course in Osawatomie, and Jen and I think Vicki went down, and it was abysmal. She has told the story, I won't retell it, but that really started, I believe, our outreach, because we couldn't take it. I mean, Jen came back and said she didn't sleep for nights, and we had to do something immediately. So we started taking food down as a donation, and every time we went down to take food, we brought a couple of dogs back, and then we got the whole crew down for a very memorable day where we cleaned that place out and painted it, and we never left. We just stayed there and managed that pound for the next 4 years.
We have them coming up next month on an episode to really go into what's happening there. But if any of you want to touch SparkNotes version, does any you guys know SparkNotes? Okay, never mind. Okay, so not millennials.
It's the old girls, Sheila.
I
remember your
young.
theme.
No, a brief high-level what's going on with Osawatomie Pound now, from what the story you just told.
Well, we purchased it from the city last November, so so we own it outright now. So yeah, same. We're still caring for the animals there. We're sort of renovating it. We put in a new floor. We got all brand new kennels, new heating system. We're just working on it, to make it get it more up to our standards.
Osawatomie has their own good group of volunteers out there too, and a great team that's really been built up and support that's been helpful. So it's a distance out there. So some of the people that don't want to travel and go past the Red Barn, they have a great team out there.
I know the first time they came out, they're a hoot. We had a great time when they came out. The short stories that they shared and just coming down and spending time, they obviously had a lot of challenges. What challenges do you guys recall? Obviously, there was multiple, and we don't have to go into all the details on the early days in the shelter, and how did you overcome them? Or maybe some of them weren't overcome, and we just kept moving on.
I think we've learned so much. There were so many things that we didn't know. We thought we were ready. We had single gates, so when you opened the door, you yelled at people, shut the gate, and inevitably some dog would run between someone's legs, and then there would be a posse. So we learned very quickly we had to build double gates to every entry, which we had no clue when we started. We also learned through dogs fence fighting that you had to have double fences. Didn't know that when we started. There was quite a few learnings that we learned through tragic mistakes, but we will always remember them.
I learned so much about rescue in general. When you start, you think you go in and it's just a bunch of dogs hanging out and it's wonderful, which it started out to be. But things changed, and I was just amazed at what all goes on behind the scenes with rescue in general. And, some of the mistakes, like she was saying, I laugh about some of it now because, Jen would send out these SOSs, and you'd run, and it may be, drive out here, and you'd get halfway, never mind. And so I don't know how many SOSs that we have all responded to, and then went, okay, I'll turn around from Olathe and go back home.
Well, some SOSs were a frog was in the broom closet, and that was equally emergent as a fire. It was come and get the frog, and I got the frog, and I walked it out in the yard, and she said, not there, keep walking, further, 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 like the frog was never going to find his way back. So we've had our levels of emergencies.
We didn't have a lot of core volunteers at first, so we kind of all did a little bit of everything. We all learned a lot of different functions, and it really, exposed you to the ins and out of rescue.
I can remember one night it was freezing cold, and it was like 7 o'clock, and it was dark, and I was out there, and I was the only one in this whole dark yard cleaning up poo, and Jen comes walking over finally, and she said, hey, I'm having a meeting with a group of gals, kind of the team members, at 7 o'clock. Do you want to show up? And I'm like, okay. So that's kind of got me kind of behind the scenes involved at that point. And I was like, I'm just picking up poo, but yeah, I'll come over and get
What do
involved.
we say about that just word, Connie?
Oh, yeah. I am very important picking up poo.
That is the most important job. I was at the CUP meetings, and that was a very
Yes,
big topic.
yes.
I brought in facts.
I will say, we're very good at that at all times, but that's when I got more behind the scenes and got to know Jen a little bit better.
I was talking to Jen, and she was saying we need someone to organize the vet visits. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's only like 9 dogs. We're a rescue. We can only have 19. I'll do that. Like, how hard can that be? And then, oh my gosh, I learned so much about medical. I Googled so many conditions, and oh gosh, I was super happy when we got someone who actually had a medical background.
So you just touched on it, but if either of you want to add in or if you want to elaborate on a different topic, but how do you think your role as volunteering, not just volunteering, but volunteering, has contributed to the success of where Always and Forever is at now? And maybe not even your personal, but just volunteers in general.
I think even with staff, because of course at first we were a completely volunteer-run organization, but even fully staffed with paid staff there 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, we couldn't run without volunteers, because and that's one of the beauties of this community of people, because we all feel like we're a part of it. We don't just do our own little job. Somebody puts out a call and say, I need something, and everybody runs. And that's how we've become a family, really.
Yeah, it's really kind of amazing because everybody finds their little niche, and we couldn't do it. I mean, the staff is so wonderful and so consistent, which the dogs needed. But the volunteers around that is what makes everything flow. They all find, whether it's fundraising or whether it's vet runs or just any little, can you pick up food, can you do this? It could not go without those wonderful people.
People step in who, have specialties in certain areas. I know in the beginning we were just paper-based, like everything was hard copy papers. And we were tracking the dogs on spreadsheets. So like I did that, and I had probably the first 500 dogs were just on spreadsheets, tracked by columns, their movement. And someone stepped in and helped us, get onto this web-based shelter management system, which, thank heavens that was a lifesaver. And just, then we got someone to help with bookkeeping. We have monthly financial statements. Just all of these things have evolved just because of really people stepping up to help.
It makes a difference. So that is also a call to action. If you want to volunteer and have a specialty or a niche that you think, or even if it's just something you're passionate about and want to bring that to Always and Forever, we will find a space for it. Jane, I know you wanted to talk on a little bit of advice you would give to people looking to volunteer or how they can help.
Well, mine obviously is from a financial standpoint now, but that,
too.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many ways to help us, and we've only gotten to where we are now from our, just amazing supporters who just share our passion for these dogs. But I mean, to support us, there's, a few ways. One big one that people don't often know about is their employers' workplace giving. So they will, match your donations, and often volunteer hours can be donated for. We can now accept stock donations, and you can, you can donate your required minimum IRA distribution, and which can provide you with a tax benefit. We have sponsorships available on our website. You can donate your vehicle, get a tax deduction, shop our merchandise.
Have we had any vehicles donated?
Yes, we have.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes, we have. Yes. Yeah. And our wish lists, Amazon, Chewy, Walmart, those are all super helpful. And you can round up at Walmart on your purchase.
Because I know we talk about how important volunteering is, but in my eyes, doing any of those is volunteering your time, your finances, truly still supporting Always and Forever. If you physically can't be here, that still
Absolutely.
puts you into the volunteer category. So with you guys, Why do you keep volunteering? What motivates you? We've had multiple episodes on the difficulties of being in shelter, the heartbreaks, the ups and the downs. It can be very easily, once you experience that first heartbreak or being told no of a big dream, to just move on. So what keeps you around? Ooh, all the hands are raised.
I think I'm definitely here. I hate to say I am here for the people, but I am here for the people. These people have become the best community, the best family. I would have never known any of these people. And now they're my family. And I appreciate that. But I feel like it's doing something good for the world. Every dog, even if they are senior dogs, so we lose dogs. We lose dogs a lot. They seem to, every 2 years, we get the sad notes from Connie on dogs, but we love every dog like they're our own. We say that on the website, but we mean it. We live that.
If you guys watch the staff and the videos they do, they make everything so fun for these animals, and they really do truly love them like their own. And yeah, the heartbreak, I remember losing the first dog that I named, Tinley, and I went in to see Tinley one night as a volunteer, and Tinley had gotten fostered, and my heart sunk because I didn't get to say goodbye. And I think all of us get, they find those special dogs and we follow, and it breaks your heart when we lose them. But for me, when I see them go and I do follow-ups on the lums and say, hey, give me an update, give me a picture so I can post it. I mean, that's the feel-good right there, that they came from nothing and they're finally relaxing and enjoying life. And, their last stage of life quite often is in that home. And it could be, whether it's 6 months, a month, or whatever. Oh, boy, that it's worth the heartbreak. It really is.
I remember Tinley. He was he was a favorite of mine for sure. So for me, I just, this is a way to pursue my passion in a very, uplifting way. It's the animals are so well cared for. I mean, they get the best and, all-inclusive medical care, no age, no breed restrictions, and no time limit. So they can be there forever.
I'm almost speechless. I love that. It's like it impacts people's lives in ways that you wouldn't expect it until you're a part of it. And I was joking with Sai before she got here. Sai is here, by the way. She's just running all the equipment. She'll speak up at the end of the episode. But when we all went putt-putting on Friday, and I'm sitting there, I'm 35. It is a Friday night, and I am putt-putting with a bunch of mid-age older women and having the time of my life, because it truly is a sense of family. And I had this moment being surrounded by all of you of just this sense of safe, of no, I can truly be myself around these people. I feel safe. I can be who I am, and nothing I say or do is going to be taken in a bad way. Of just this safe environment that Always and Forever and the people in it and the people in it truly radiate. And then when we're all together, I'm just going to go on a tangent here. When we were all together at Putt Putt, there was maybe 50 people in there, and one of these 50 people came up because they saw the group of us with it and had adopted a dog from Always and Forever. It was an OG dog, right? If anybody wants to talk on it.
It was Mackenzie, who was, they thought she might have bone cancer and became a tripod. And it's been, I can't remember the year, but I remember I follow up, and the doctor is Beth. 2018, and Mackenzie was just one of those. And it was just so good. And the adopter kept looking at all of us, and finally she came over and saw Jen and saw all of us. I went, I know who you are. You have Mackenzie. And she gets out her phone and starts scrolling. And she says, I still follow you and here, and she couldn't wait to show pictures. I mean, that's what it's about. And the whole family thing is so true. I mean, I'm sitting next to two ladies that if I needed something at 2 a.m, they would come, and vice versa. So it is so much of a family, so much.
And as soon as you're in that group, you have that sense where I know if I truly needed anything, I could reach out to one of the 50 group chats and someone would show up for me, no matter what it be.
It's true. Just even physically, if you're out at the barn and you're just pulling up to get a dog or do something, you see somebody carrying something heavy to the dumpster, everybody comes up and says, "Here, let me help." People jump out of their cars, and we just do it for each other. It's the most helpful, loving group, really, that I've ever encountered.
And you know what? These are people we would have never met outside of Always and Forever. I don't think our paths would have ever crossed.
One of the things I always live by, when you find your passion, you find your people. And I first came across that when I started playing tackle football, because there was so many people that I had met that played that our paths would have never crossed, and now are staples in my life, Cy being one of them.
And Jen.
And Jen, like, we would have never crossed paths, but bringing us together. It's insanity.
You are the old girls. You know, we're not the old girls. You guys have been around longer than we have, actually.
Yeah. I think one of the things I remember also that Jen has instilled from day one is this is the dog's home. And we need it clean. She doesn't like, she didn't like Trice sitting around. It's like, hey, I see a cup and let's keep it clean. This is their house. It's not you to come in. And I think that's what started me. Like at that time, everybody was just randomly mowing, and I'm like, no, this is their home. It's going to look just as good outside as it is inside. So, and of course, I love it. So that is where I kind of fell into that okay, we're going to take it over and just do it because it is their home. And so, yeah, pretty on the outside, wonderful on the inside.
You do such a fantastic job. I just know driving up, that's a lot of people's first impression, too, of the physical. They follow us on social media and see the dogs and everything, but when you first pull up and truly see it, and as Jen said, it truly is God's country and land, and that land is blessed. So you doing the honor of making it that visual, thank you. So obviously this has had an impact on all of us. Just a little one, not affecting our lives at all. Can we talk about how your view of it impacting the community since you've been there?
I'll take it. For one thing, all of us have gotten to the point where we wear nothing but A&F clothing because that's what we have in our closets. So we're walking advertisements everywhere. I live 30 miles from the barn, and I can't go into a store without somebody walking up to me and saying, "My mom loves you," or "Do you know this dog?" And it impacts the community in so many ways because people are not dumping dogs. I mean, it makes it very hard on our intake people because every day there's somebody who feels they have to surrender a dog or their parent's dog, and it's a heartbreaking job. But we provide a safe place, a guaranteed place that it's not going to be a kill shelter, and I think we're doing something really wonderful for the community.
I also think with bringing the barn back to the seniors, too, we can get back to more community involvement there. We can have, we used to have people of all ages and abilities and special needs, adults and classes and everything visit, and I just think that will happen again.
I agree on that too. I think once we get the Little Red Barn back, people want to be able to come back inside. And I think that will draw some of those people that do something for their heart, that they can come in and sit down and, relax and sit with the pup. So that's one thing that I do look forward to. And, I think when you start a base of people from the beginning, you try to set that precedence and encourage volunteers and make them welcome. And that starts from day one, and you continue to try to bring more people in and encourage them and make them feel comfortable and wanted. And you make a difference. I don't care if you don't live here. You can do something. You can send those cards. You can do all that. So I think from day one, everybody just wants to make everybody feel welcomed.
You briefly touched on it when you said when we get the Little Red Barn back. So let's shift it a little bit and look into the future. So what are your hopes and vision for the future of Always and Forever to get the Little Red Barn back? And if anybody wants to go in more detail of what that terminology actually represents.
I think Because of the fact that we have taken in so many dogs, the population has obviously gotten younger. We put no limits on what age dog, what condition dog is. We're very selective because we have 3 sites. So we locate dogs according to whether or not they'll be good in a play group, whether they need to be always by themselves with a staff member or a volunteer. But we'd like to get the red barn back to the senior barn. And it was a wonderful time. I mean, as Jane said, it was pretty, the day would end, the sun would be coming down, everybody would be coming back from their various jobs, volunteer jobs and trips, and we'd all be sitting in there together with dogs on our laps. We want to get back to that. And we will. And I know that's a goal of Jen's in our new facilities, in our expanded facilities, to have a place where young dogs have the room and the kind of structure they need to be trained and run. And we have the senior dogs and their couches.
Do you think that's because we're seniors now?
I know, I love sitting on a couch with a dog.
Maybe we want that age group because that's kind of us now.
I was going to say, it's the campaign, get it back for you ladies.
Yeah.
Get the barn back
The
for you.
originals for the originals. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, the need is just crazy out there. And seeing some of the stuff the situations, it's heartbreaking. And I honestly can't see some of the pictures of the dogs that need help. But, we'll have that niche, we'll have this niche, it'll just have their locations, and the other places will have places for them to run and play for that age group and the help they need. The seniors will have what they need, and we will too.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, every one of our locations, though, regardless of the age or the population, is still the kind of place that you can go to and feel good and not feel sad when you leave because I can't take every dog home, therefore I'm miserable for having been here. Every single one of our locations you can go to and be happy.
In the last episode, we were actually kind of joking about the Sarah McLachlan song and those commercials and how it just makes you feel so sad and everything else. And it's almost, I'm grateful that Always and Forever does not leave people with those feelings of the animals being so well taken care of at the facilities.
I mean, I just think with the new facility, we're just going to have the space to do it all. There's not going to be any limits. And it has this wonderful event space where I think we can do more community. We can not only do our own events there, we can do, trainings. And I just think, it's endless possibilities. Indoor, meet and greets when the weather's bad. It's just massive. Big play yards I see.
Will you give a brief description for maybe those people that only listen to the podcast and don't follow on social media or anything like that of when you say new property?
The difference, I think, is that this land, which Jen fortuitously, with God's help, she assures us, and I think she's right, discovered at midnight one night, is peaceful. It's zoned for what we do. We don't have to fight anyone, any neighbors. It is beautiful and serene. And if you haven't been out there, you need to go at the next opportunity because it gives you the same sense of peace that the Red Barn does when you drive up. It's peaceful. It's spacious. It's surrounded by fields and trees. And it's just going to be a great opportunity. We have a long way to go. It is not, it's going to cost us a lot to put this together and make it the kind of facility that will meet our standards and be the top level of care for dogs. So don't get us wrong. It's not a done task. We have a long miles ahead of us, but we know we're going to do it.
It'll be done in stages too. So, to get the dogs there and get that one building, if I understand correctly, renovated, and it'll start with that and the rest will come to play. One of the things I remember when we went out and saw it last Sunday, which I was thrilled to do, the realtor told our realtor that every person that came to that gate from our group that came in had the biggest smile on their face. And he told our realtor that, and she said he was just amazed. Everybody was just so dang happy. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what we do, you know?
And I wonder how much information he has on the struggles that this group has gone through with the homestead and cut process for this to be the vision shifted of why that was such a struggle to then come into this land in buildings that were already built. And now we just get to finalize and polish them to how we want instead of starting from ground zero. So it's almost that sigh of relief of this is why we were meant to be here.
Yeah, it's already zoned.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. We don't have to go through that again.
I'm sure he knows some of the background, and I do know that we were all happier than heck. And I know I was singing "The Hills Are Alive" as I walked through the hayfield because it was just so beautiful walking that back part. And he was probably looking out there shaking his head at us, but truly everybody was like thrilled. And he probably did know, and he also has been, is aware of the present location of Kansas City, Missouri, and the situation and what that facility's like. So no doubt he saw it on our faces. And there was, I don't know, 15 of us. I don't know how many was there, but boy, yeah, it was very evident.
Was it 2 episodes ago that Megan was on? And Brian, we were talking about Little Gray Barn and depth and the basement and everything else, but yeah. We'll just say yeah on that one. So almost starting to wrap up. One more topic, or actually just stories I want to hear from you guys. The most memorable, heartwarming, or touching moment that you've had so far with Always and Forever.
I'll say there are a million of them. One thing I'll say, and I've always said, we laugh more than any group I've ever been in. Connie is a maniac dancer. She was dancing in the field just this weekend. But we have so much fun, and we cry so much. I mean, no dog dies alone. We all get together and cry. If we hear about somebody passing, we cry. Our emotions, it's a full venting emotion experience, but it's just the fellowship and the fact that we have happy dogs. I mean, we do. I can go to bed every night and say, I'm doing something good for the world, and I don't even look back at the rest of my career of 30 years and say, that's what my children will say when I die, is she really loved Always and Forever.
I mean, I think some of the most memorable moments for me were seeing some of our longtime residents go to their permanent homes. Particularly Gump and Opal, his mom Opal, some chows we had. I think they were like
the first.
They were within like the first 20 we had, and they had been kept on chains outside, and we got them from another rescue, and they both had heartworm, and Gump had an issue with his elbow, ended up losing his leg, and they were with us for over a year, probably like a year and 3 months, and then when they just went to their home, it was absolutely amazing. And there were actually a number of cases like that.
If you need time to think, I'll actually have Sai answer.
Yes, Sai. What's the question?
What's the most heartwarming or touching memory you have with Always and Forever? I think I know your answer, but I'm going to be intrigued to see what you say.
What is my answer?
I'm going to say your time with Aleki.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. My heartwarming moments at Always and Forever is with my daughter, Alexis. So she works at the Little Gray Barn, and you would never have known us being dog lovers. This girl, everywhere we go now, every dog she sees, mostly it's because she talks about the dogs at Little Gray Barn, like her favorites. McCoy, Elmo, Cadillac, Tobin. Those are all the OG dogs at Little Gray Barn. And the spark that she has in her eyes when she talks about Little Gray Barn and when she speaks to her friends, I'm like, it warms my heart up. I'm like, oh.
Sheila, you have to give one.
Oh, man. Connie still needs time to think.
I really don't. I don't know how I could say one thing, actually. I think about it, but there's so many things that stand out. And yes, I knew I was going to be going into retirement, and I got involved before that. But I think you just find your passion, whatever it is. And I can't say one memorable thing. There's been dogs that just get me to the heart, and I remember Macaroni, and I remember the 3 labs that we sent off that went to California
In a Toyota.
in a small car, and I met out at 6:30 to shove them in this car, and off they went. And
Lady went too.
Lady, Macaroni, Milkshake, and Maple.
This is way back.
Somebody was hungry when they named
We
them.
need this full story.
Okay.
Connie.
I don't. Okay, we had 3 labs come in: Milkshake, Macaroni,
And Maple.
And I was like, I don't know who named these. Well, I do. But they came in and they were named, and some lady from California decided she wanted them, and then the 4th one,
Lady.
which was Lady.
Yeah.
And at that time, we didn't have major transport system like we do now. So
We
one
didn't
of our
have Craig Elford.
we
then.
didn't have Craig, wonderful
No.
Craig, who is most wonderful man in the world. And so one of our volunteers says, well, I'll take him to Colorado. And then they went from Colorado to someone else, clear to California. And I looked up and she pulled up in a Toyota. Jen says, can you meet me out here? So at 6:30, I met out there, and there we put those 4 labs in that car. And as they drove off, I went, OMG. But they happy, and they got to California, and they lived a wonderful life. They aren't around, but Macaroni was one of them that had my heart. She was a blonde lab, and she was one of those with Tinley that pretty much was it for me. But that's one of the memorable things, just the things that we started with that I laugh at so hard now.
Well, they had their own corner of the barn. It was the lab corner. We had like a queen size mattress on the floor, and that was where they all hung out. The 4 labs were always
And Gump had his office. We have the double glass doors where you can see cars approaching, and Gump owned that corner, and that was Gump's office. And he sat there, and if any dog came over and wanted to look out, no, it was his spot.
And didn't he chase you when you were mowing, Connie, in the window?
Okay, so Gump hated the mower. So as a 0 turn went flying by the windows, there went Gump. 3-legged or not, that dog was fast. And then I'd go back, and he'd go back the other direction. And the other thing about Gump is he liked to get you from behind. So if you were a repairman, you had to watch walking out that door because he'd head toward your rear end. And we were all aware of it. It became funny. But there are so many memories. I could go on, so I'll stop.
Well, I will say that kind of leads to my heartwarming. I have multiple layers, I think. One, I don't have any family in Kansas City. I'm a transplant, moved here for work, and have kind of just created my family through my passions and friendships, and come to find out Always and Forever. And through football, met Jen. I'm sure if you've listened to these podcasts before, you've already heard a few of this, but had 2 older boxers, Bailey and Lily. And for the longest time, they were my soul dogs, got them in my 20s, went through all that stuff together, and I dreaded the thought of losing them and how I was going to handle it and what I was going to do. And when I moved out here, they were 9 or 10. They were getting to their senior years, and I knew it's inevitable, but truly Always and Forever stepped in, and that's when I got that sense of family and community in dealing with that, and really struck like that is, we have talked about it before, when you deal with that, it is a heartbreak that is indescribable until you experience it. But Always and Forever was there for me, helped me, comfort it through me when my family physically could not be, and turned into my family. And then on the flip side, Always and Forever has introduced me to my foster fail, Kingston, who I'm looking at him now, and I'm like, I don't even know what I would do without him, but I never even envisioned him in my life. So that part of the family and Always and Forever.
Are you crying?
No, I'm not crying, but but then I think about the podcast, and when Jen, Sai, and I were joking around about like this idea, and of course we know with Jen, when she has an idea, it's not an idea, it's actually going to happen, and everything has a business plan, and it's sealed that's happening. We had no idea how to do a podcast.
Nope, now I'm a pro.
That first podcast.
Was rough. If you listen to that, and I get so mad because it's the most downloaded episode, and I'm like, oh, so many people probably listen to that, and then just, we have gotten better. But it just proved to me as adults that we limit ourselves and don't take on new skill sets of like, I don't know how to do that. I'm not going to take the time to figure it out. But we really like sat down and watched hours of YouTube videos, researched everything to figure out how to do this. And it has brought my belief and strength into Always and Forever so much more, of bringing everybody in and hearing their stories and experiences and the ups and downs. And before we were just volunteers, dog walkers, helping friends with Jen, so we'd get some of the details then. But truly, this podcast has been a very heartwarming experience. And then to share all of your stories and giving that platform. Yeah, I could keep going on and on, but we said that we don't like them that long. But anyways, it's shaped all of our lives in the best way possible, and we truly are a family. Sai, I will let you wrap up the episode with what we always do.
Okay. We need a dog for a cover.
Yes, let's pick Duke at Little Gray Barn.
Would we like to promote Duke? Because he is available for adoption and foster, so who knows a little bit about Duke?
Super sweet. He is blind. He's very enthusiastic. He loves to play. He loves stuffies. Loves stuffies. And he's an absolute sweetheart.
My favorite thing about Duke when I was at Little Gray Barn is how smart he is and how much he has adjusted and accommodated his lifestyle to being blind. If he's going out of his kennel, will pick up the biggest stuffed animal to use as his guide. So when he bumps into the wall or the door, it's not his face hitting it, it's the stuffy first, and it just is the cutest thing to me. But yeah, Duke is, I have him up on the website now, almost 10 years old. He's been with Always and Forever since September 2023. I feel like he's been longer since that. Okay, that intake date is wrong. OG's who runs the website, we can update that. Let me read a little bit about him. Oh yeah, he came all the way from Florida. That's right. And then came up. Did Craig get him? Who got him?
Well, I'm sure Craig ended up with him on the last leg.
Yep. So he, let's see, with him being blind and his love for toys, maybe a home with older kids would be best, because he does accidentally nip a hand when he's driving to grab his toys, but not intentionally. You can't see it. Same with kisses. He can sometimes miss with those, but despite being blind, he does get around really well, and it doesn't stop him from being a great dog. Also, with him being blind, it is recommended that he be an only pet, because he does spook and just does better on his own. But I will say, coming from is special needs the right word? Dog? Special needs dog owner of Kingston being deaf, I have realized it is truly a blessing in disguise. And I can go into that and have a whole episode on itself. But check out Duke. He's our cover dog and available for foster adoption, hotel dates, day dates, whatever you want to spend time with Duke.
We want to thank you guys for coming out today. As always, it's never too late for a happily ever after.